Hello and welcome back, everybody. Good day yesterday. We're going to be back for some more wild slate yesterday. I'm your host, Tyler Wiemann. We're going to be talking MLB DFS tonight. We have a 12-game slate to go over, a lot of interesting spots to attack, and we are going to go over it now. Before we do, come join us at LineStar. $39.99 per month gets you access to all we do, the props, the DFS. You get it all one low price. You get unlimited access to all the sports we cover, both on the apps and the website like you see here. Now, let's get into the old slate. As always, we're going to go over the perfect lineups on both sites, DraftKings and FanDuel. We're also going to go over the winning lineups on both slates. Then we'll jump into pitchers to consider today. And lastly, round it out with some stacks. Thank you all for joining me. We got Tony, Eddie, Corey, Get Some. All y'all are here and showing up, leaving us some comments. You got to love that. So thank you for coming in day after day to talk MLB and some DFS action. All right, so on to DraftKings. Perfect lineup yesterday were two pay down options at pitcher. Will Warren and Jose Soriano both putting up 27. We talked about both briefly yesterday. And then lineup-wise, the Rays had a two-man stack. Royals had a two-man stack, and then some one-offs. 239.3 was that perfect lineup score. 49.5 was the total salary used. And then the winning lineup went to Multichem, who put up 182.5. They won by just a little bit here, only by 0.2. And then the lineup went to Alexander and Matthews were the two pitchers. Once again, two pay down spots. It was a spot yesterday where the high-priced pitchers all failed. All four high-priced guys just did not come through. So we got some, different pitching options that you needed to win. And that's what happened. We also had a 5-man Milwaukee stack, 2-man Tampa Bay, one off of Neto, who is very, very likely going to get back-to-back 2020 seasons. He's at 19 home runs, 21 stolen bases, I believe. So props to him. Props to Milwaukee. They just keep getting it done. Have won 10 of the last 10. Hottest team in baseball, and they just continue to roll, winning 7-1. And they're in an interesting spot once again today. Now, let's get over to FanDuel. Jose Soriano put up 46 at 8,100. Then Muncy going against Soriano is in the perfect lineup. And then just all one-offs over here, 32,400, so much lower than the perfect or the total salary in 297.8 was the total score. Eddie, and prop for us on the next show to win some money. Yes, we will have that MLB prop show in a little bit. Thank you for reminding me to shout that one out as well. But 297.8 on this perfect lineup score here, with the winning lineup going to Need Lunch Money Dough, who won 20K. They had Quintana. Quintana was one of the pivots we talked about. He put up 34, just did enough. Only hit 3 strikeouts. But that 8K, opens up some definitely different salary combinations when it comes to bats. And they used a 4-man Tampa stack, 2 Angels one-offs, and the Dodgers Shohei here. Hey, at least it was a joke. But yes, props to them. and everybody else. But yes, nice work. Need lunch money though. We the old 4-2-1 one did it again because we had Langoliers, good old Bangaliers came with the home run as well. So let's get into today's actual lineups and the fun that can be had here. Think there's a lot of interesting spots. Now, there are many spots today that do have some weather concerns. And if you go on to our starting lineup tab, you can look at all the weather here. Winds are blowing out in New York with 10 miles an hour at start. Mostly, there's really not too many concerns. This White Sox game has some scattered showers. Slight chance of rain in St. Louis. And that's about it. There's also the games that are before the main slate have some worries, but pretty much there's multiple games today that have worry for, a delay. But I think all the games likely play. We do have this White Sox one as the highest chance of a postponement. We only have it a 10% chance though. So not a whole lot to worry about weather, but as it is for August, September even, we got to worry about some pop-ups. So let's get into the highest owned for the day, and that is Freddie Peralta, 10K. Earlier when I was doing my research, he was much lower owned, but I think he should probably be one of the higher owned pitchers, if not the highest on this slate. Freddie Peralta has been okay, fit before, K rates in the mid-20s. That's kind of pricey. He's 10K. These stats are a little bit pricey for that. And a thing that I do worry about him is he isn't the most efficient pitcher. He can definitely rack up those Ks, but ends up only going 5 innings, which definitely limits that upside a little bit. All in all, he's in an okay spot. His StatCast data has been good. The splits are great. The BVP data is a little worrisome. Pitt hitting 280 off him, but 30.5% K rate. So there is some strikeout upside in this matchup. Pitt really isn't that great of an offense. And if we look at what he has done versus them, it's been a little hit or miss. We mentioned those BVP splits, and this is where it really comes out. He's only been in one perfect lineup, only one 25 plus score in the last, 3 seasons versus them. I don't mind a little Freddie P. I definitely think he's in an interesting spot. 2.2x value, almost 22 point projection. He is definitely a bit safer than the rest of the pay up options, but I don't know if the upside is totally there for his price in this matchup. Next, we got Paul Skeens, everybody's favorite pitcher, but he is also going against Milwaukee and has pretty much the toughest matchup on this slate. But Skeens, 2.6 FIP over his last 20, 29% K rate, 2.12 over the last 5, and a 33% K rate. He has been absolutely dealing lately. StatCast data is great. Matchup data is tricky, though. This Milwaukee offense has been hot. They're hitting 276, 207 ISO. They can steal bases. They can hit home runs. They're not striking out a ton. It's not the matchup you want, but this is one of, if not the best pitcher in baseball, and we have a 27% combined K rate. If people are trying to fade Skeens, I will be taking him. I think 20% ownership is fair, and I'm probably going to end up around there myself. Next, we got Jack Flaherty, 9,200, 18.8 point projection on pretty much our consensus and our projection are very similar. Our projections generally run a little bit hot. So if you're using our projections and our optimizer, you're probably not going to get a ton of Flaherty versus if you're using the consensus. All in all, I do like Flaherty. Nate, yeah, Manny Manny sold me too. It was a bummer. He got one hit, got stranded at third base, just didn't quite come through for him. But hey, there's always today. Jack Flaherty, 3.56 FIP over his last 5 with a 27% K rate, 4.38 over the last 20 and a 28% K rate. The thing with Flaherty is he's very, very streaky, and now he's in an interesting spot. We got a 3-star alert score. The White Sox have been hot, but they also strike out a lot. So the upside is here. The price is $9,700. If he's on, I love the spot for him. He's done well versus them in the past. 43 plate attempts, 190 average, 25.6% K rate, super low ISO, low WOBA. The splits, they're striking out a lot, but they hit the ball hard. If he can miss some of those home run, swings, then he's in for a great game. I don't mind some Flaherty. I do like him going a little lower owned, and I'm probably going to end up with a little bit too much of him with what his projection is. Now, Carlos Rodon, 10.2K versus the Twins. Rodon struggled a little bit lately. We got a 4.47 FIP and 26% K rate over his last 5, 3.74 and 27% over the last 20. Too many fly balls. We're at that small Yankees stadium, so definitely some issues with possible home runs today versus a Minnesota team that hits the ball hard and does have a 261 average over the last 20 versus lefties. And the K rate is a little bit low. All in all, I'm fine with Rodon, but I am worried about this recent struggle he's had. I do prefer the other payoff options over him. Now, Robbie Ray, 9.7K versus my Padres. He has struggled a little bit, and my big issue here is that the Padres just don't strike out versus lefties. 15% K rate versus lefties. While the offense is absolutely not as good, we just have limited upside. Even the BVP data shows the lower K rate. You're looking at a guy that has a 26% K rate generally, and versus the Padres, he's at 23. I don't love the spot for Robbie Ray. He is at least at home and in a pitcher-friendly park, but I do worry about that upside. So I'm not going to get a ton of Robbie Ray either. Spencer Strider hasn't quite been himself lately. Another guy that I'm having a hard time getting to. We got 80-degree temps, winds blowing out relatively hard in Citi Field. Strider is not a guy I'm going to get to too much. Now let's get into pivots. Nasty Nestor, Spencer Arrighetti, and Michael Wacha are 3 of my favorite pivots with Jacob Lopez and Shane Baz. Ton of pivots today, as once again, the pay-up options, I think, are a little questionable. So I wouldn't be surprised if one of those pay-up options comes through, but I also wouldn't be totally surprised if it was another day like yesterday where none of them, went off. Starting with Nasty Nestor, 5.1 FIP over his last 20, 10.69 over the last 5. Not great. Too many fly balls, but he's in a hitter-friendly park in San Francisco. The splits is where it's very interesting. San Francisco has been awful versus lefties, striking out at 26%, low WOBA, low ISO. BVP data does favor them, however, 40% K rate, 52 plate attempts. I think there is some big time upside here. Last time out, he only went 76 pitches. This was his first appearance since April. I don't mind getting to some Nasty Nestor. We know from years prior, he has upside when he gets it going, and he's at 6,400. He is bare minimum. He can get you 20 plus. There's just, or not bare minimum, near bare minimum. He can get you 20 plus, and if you're getting that out of 6,400, it is very, very interesting. Next, we got Spencer Arrighetti, 6,500 versus the Bo Sox. Now, Bo Sox been hitting righties very well, so I don't love going against that, but at least he is keeping the ball on the ground. His FIP is low, strikeout chances are high, and he's averaging 47% more fantasy points when home. His starts so far this season, he has only had one. He, just like Cortez, has only had one outing since being back, 86 pitches. Think we can get into the 90s. Worry for him is that he is just not very efficient, and he can regularly not make it even 5 to not give you that win bonus option. But I am interested in him. I think at his price, there is upside to warrant it. 24% combined K rate at 6,500 is super interesting to me for Samara Getty. Michael Wacha has been absolutely dealing lately and been way better at home. 2.86 FIP over the last 5. And at home gives him another boost. We got a 40% fly ball rate, which is a bit too high, but all in all, I'm very interested in him with these type of opponent splits. 240 average, 127 ISO, 302 WOBA, 25% K rate. I think there's upside for Wacha, who is much better at home, and I definitely have some interest, especially on a slate where those high-priced guys are a little iffy, and Wacha can get us mid-20s. Not easily, but he can do it. All right, now these two, Jacob Lopez, Shane Baz. Definitely a little tricky. Lopez has had a huge ceiling when he's on. He's been pitching very well lately. 3.7 FIP over his last 5 and a 27% K rate. 4.12 over the last 20. He has been a slightly above average pitcher. My worry, 50% fly balls at a park where the wind is blowing out. It's mid-80s. The ball is going to travel. So there is some worry there. But if he can keep people off bases, which hasn't always been his strong point with the 3.6 walks per 9, then I think it's very interesting. But this fly ball rate does scare me. It is one of the higher game totals of the day. But versus lefties, the Rays have struggled a little bit. So I think there's a lot to like here. He isn't priced too high. The ceiling absolutely warrants playing a little bit. Also, Shane Baz, 8,500. Now, this one is a lot different. He doesn't give many fly balls, 28% fly balls, 39% line drives isn't great, but a ton of soft contact. 4.3 FIP over his last 5, 4.88 over his last 20. My thing here is when he is on, he's giving you high 20s and into the 30s. Now, we got a team against the A's that have been hitting very, very well over the last 20 games. 280 average, 232 ISO, 363 WOBA. My thing here is if he can keep the ball down, it is interesting. Another aspect is that the A's can struggle against velocity. Baz, can get it up to 98, 99 miles an hour. And I think there's a little bit of interest there. I do worry about it. This game is one that I want both sides of a little bit. But I do think Baz is interesting. I like Lopez more than Baz, and Lopez is cheaper, but I wanted to throw out those two. It is likely that the A's and Rays both come in with a little higher ownership, so there's also some leverage going there. Now, let's get over to FanDuel. Let's check out ownership there before we can round it out to some stacks. High owned, we got Skeens, Rodon, Flaherty, all super interesting. Peralta over here is way lower owned. I do find that super interesting. We also have his projection right with Robbie Ray, who at low ownership, you can obviously take some chances with. I just worry about that upside. Now, it is a lot different on FanDuel. We have only one pitcher spot. and we have 5, pay up starters. Well, really 6 pay up starters. It's rare that 6 pay up starters fail. So on FanDuel, I'm less likely to go to those mid-price pitchers that I like. And with Waka up at 9,300, I think that's a little high for him. I'm most likely going to just stick with these spots. I like them, and I think mixing and matching them is probably the way to go. We don't have to get too different with the stacks or the pitchers over on FanDuel. Now let's get over to stacks before we can round this out. High ownership, we got Dodgers. I think a ton of ownership is going to be on this Dodgers and Angels game. Over under is 10. Dodgers are decent favorites. Highest implied run total. There's a lot of reasons to like it. I also don't mind the Angels side. Yankees versus Thomas Hatch. Don't mind picking on Minnesota after they've sold at the deadline. Yankees have plenty of ways to go. They're very interesting. St. Louis versus Freebomb. Freebomb is a lot better while away, but St. Louis has the splits advantage in this one. So I definitely don't mind a little St. Louis. And then Dodgers, we covered. Our highest projected stacks for the day. We got Dodgers, no surprise there. And the value action. Washington versus Waka. Waka's better at home, been very good lately. Washington offense as a whole hasn't been that great. Makes some sense to probably fade that one. White Sox been hitting very well. Flaherty is super boom bust. He is one of those guys where there's a real high and a real low. These are the spots I like to attack and make some sense to go for some Flaherty stacks. Our high ceiling, we got Atlanta. We got the A's, Toronto. Toronto does hit better at home. Ben Brown is a little bit of a shaky starter, so I don't mind some Toronto at home. Milwaukee, we obviously are interested in a little bit, even though versus Skeens, just because that offense keeps doing it. Leverage, Toronto versus Ben Brown. Ben Brown, 6.5 FIP over his last 5. 4.39 over the last 20. ERA is elevated. He gives a lot of fantasy points per plate attempt, so there's some interest there, and the splits are decent for him. Milwaukee versus Skeens. It's hard to quit the Milwaukee offense right now, but obviously Paul Skeens is not a guy you want to go against. If I have a little bit of Milwaukee, I'm totally fine with it. Now let's click the teams tab. High implied run total, we got 5.6 for Dodgers, Yankees at 5.3, and KC at 5.1 versus Mitch Parker. Parker's way better at home than away. KC does interest me a little bit. A's at 4.8. A's and Rays, I think you need to consider because of the hitting environment. St. Louis, 4.8. Detroit at 4.7. I mean, Detroit's just going to be interesting day in and day out. When they're versus the White Sox, that is. But also as a team, I believe they're starting to hit again, which is interesting. Texas versus Arizona. I don't think they're getting the love they should be. One, they've been hitting much better lately. DeScalafini, really, in his whole body of work, isn't that good, and the bullpen is awful. So I'm very interested in some Texas. Toronto, Cubs, both very interesting. Cubs going against Barrios, who hasn't been good lately. In that ballpark has been playing up to hitters a little bit more. Angels at 4.4 versus Shaheen. Shaheen has been solid, but they're limiting his pitch counts. He has given up some hard contact, and the Angels hit the ball hard. It is an interesting spot to me. Dustin May, boom bust, giving up some hard contact. Boston, super interested. I said I do like Arrighetti, and I do, but he can get blown up and only go 3 or 4 innings. And when you get to the middle relief guys, you can definitely do some damage. So when they're going under-owned, I'm very interested in Boston. So that's going to do it for us today. The leverage stacks down here, I don't totally love. If you want some San Francisco, it makes some sense. Don't love anybody else really down here. You can get some Minnesota because Rodon can give up some hard contact, but don't love that aspect. My favorite stacks of the day, I definitely have a lot of interest in Texas, a lot of interest in Boston, in Houston, Angels, and then all the guys on the top of the board here. That's going to do it for us today, guys. We will be back in a little bit with the prop show. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. It helps us a ton. Talk to y'all later. Peace.